Again, sorry for the delay. I appreciate your patience. But I'd just like to welcome all of political junkies of New Hampshire. Where else but New Hampshire could you put together a standing room only attendance in July on a Friday afternoon, 100 degrees? You know, it says a lot. It says a lot. And that is why New Hampshire should be first in the nation. People here, people in New Hampshire take it very, 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 very seriously, the right to vote, and they want to know the candidates. And today is just a wonderful example, again, of all of you being here today to listen to a influential, powerful member of the United States Congress. I just want to, again, thank all of you for being here today. I want to thank Neil Levesque, who's standing in the rear. Many of you know him. He is the director of the Institute of Politics. We love Neil. What can we say about Neil that Neil hasn't already said about himself? But he's here. We love him. And it's a great relationship that we have, New England Council and the Institute of Politics. And it's because of the great leadership that Neil has demonstrated and continues to demonstrate. New England Council is slowing down for the month of August, but we're looking towards a very busy fall. In fact, in September, the governor of New Hampshire, Governor Ayotte, will be speaking here. And Congressman Chris Pappas will be speaking to our members in Washington, D.C. in September. And of course, we have our centennial celebration. Hard to believe that we are 100 years old. There are many days that we feel in the staff being 100, but it's quite an honor. We're the oldest regional business organization in the United States, and the centennial dinner will be celebrated on October 20th. And and we hope to have nearly 2,000 of our nearest and closest friends from all 6 New England states. In years past, we've averaged between 1,600 and 1,800. It's held in Boston, and the reason it's held in Boston is there are very few venues in New England that will be able to accommodate 2,000 of our New Englanders together, so it's extraordinary. We may not be the biggest organization, but when people come to the dinner, they're just blown away and how many people are there, and it says a lot about our membership and how loyal they are to the New England Council. But now we're very pleased to welcome why we're here, and that is the Congresswoman Nancy Mace to the Granite State. And some of you may not know her background, but she is someone who's made history, if anyone has read her background. And by that I mean history in 1999, when she was the first woman to graduate from the Citadel. And I'm sure her father, Emory, was very, very proud that to see his daughter graduate, because he was the Commodore of the Citadel. And when she left there, she wrote a book. And she wrote a book called In the Company of Men, A Woman at the Citadel. She later earned a master's degree from the University of Georgia and entered public service. In 2018, she was elected to the legislature in the South Carolina, and she served until 2020. And then she decided to say, you know what, I think I'm going to run for the United States Congress, and I'm going to run against an incumbent congressman. I think his name is Joe Cunningham. And she defeated him, and defeated him handedly. And since then, she's just been somebody that when she's on the ballot, they don't count her vote, they weigh them. She's very, very well respected in her district and admired. She's now serving her 3rd term, representing the 1st Congressional District that all of us would probably say the 1st District must include Charleston, my favorite city, the city of cathedrals. It's just a magnificent city, to say the least, and what an honor to represent it. And on Capitol Hill, she serves on some significant committees that we hear quite often, and that is the Oversight and Government Reform Committee, where she chairs the subcommittee on innovation, information technology, cybersecurity, and government innovation. She also serves on 2 committees that, if anyone is here, is a veteran would say that we're very pleased that she does serve on that committee. That's Armed Services and also the Veterans Affairs Committee. So two key committees for many of the members here, as well as members of the New England Council. When they heard that she was on this committee, they wanted to let me know to thank her for her advocacy on so many of the important issues. So with that, I'm pleased that she could join us here today and give us maybe a little preview of the future in Congress, but also maybe give an outline of what the Republican Party's priorities are, but more importantly, her own vision for our country. Please give a warm welcome to the Honorable United States Representative Nancy Mace.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, New Hampshire. Good afternoon. This is my very first trip to New Hampshire, and I thought it was beautiful coming in, and I want to say that New Hampshire picks presidents. You all did that in 2016 when Trump came through. You all were the first state to pick Donald J. Trump as our Republican nominee for president in 2016, and you did it again last year in 2024. We're first in the South. We take great pride in that as well, but you all led the way in 2016, so it's a huge honor to be here. Jim, I want to thank you for the kind introduction. Matt Mayberry for being he is like leading me like a soldier. Thank you for your patience. The flight was an hour and a half behind. He's like, we're doing this, this, and this right now. Photo line, click, sign, table, speech, let's go. So thank you, Matt. And I met what may be the youngest state lawmaker in the country, Sam Farrington. Where is Sam? 21 years old? Sam, where are you? I am old enough to be your mother. So, but it's a huge honor, and I love being here in the Granite State because this is where real men protect women. And I have learned in my fight in Congress that we as women still have a war to wage with the far left who want men in women's spaces. They want men in our locker rooms. They want men showering next to our 12-year-old daughters, and they think that men can get pregnant. And I'm just here to say the biological truth is not that. And I want to also say that I am sleeping much better at night knowing that Donald J. Trump is president because he is protecting women like me. And I'm a survivor of both sexual assault and domestic violence. And for women that are in this room or who might be watching today, I'm with you in your fight. I'm fighting back, not just for myself and my state, but I'm fighting for every victim, every woman, every child, every man who out there who's been a victim or been abused. My fight is your fight. And I'm trying to lead that way, not just in Congress, but in the great state of South Carolina. And not only do you pick presidents, maybe you can pick the next South Carolina governor, too, while we're here today, because we're going to be announcing our run very shortly, potentially, for that as well. But Donald Trump, everything they tried to do, they impeached him, they raided his home, they indicted him, they arrested him, and they even shot him. And there was only one woman in Congress when the Secret Service, the director of the Secret Service, came to Congress and told lies to the American people. There's only one woman in Congress that filed a motion, a privileged motion, which, as you all, the state lawmakers here to know that would force a vote in 48 hours. There's only one woman that did that in Congress. I filed a motion to impeach her, and 12 hours later, the director of the Secret Service, Kim Cheadle, resigned. So I didn't go to Congress to make friends. I came to Congress to make a difference, and I came to Congress to hold the line for everybody across the country, and sometimes that means I vote against my own party. We know that because of the spending levels we've had for the last couple of decades, it's not just Democrats, but Republicans too have contributed to the $37 trillion of debt and counting. I'm very grateful to President Donald Trump, who just cut taxes for every hard-working American, everybody in the middle class, every family that works hard in New Hampshire and across the country. We just cut taxes and made the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act from years ago permanent, and we did that because of Donald Trump's leadership, and that helps everyone across the political spectrum. But before I talk more about the future, I want to talk to you about where I've come from. I'm from a small town called Goose Creek, South Carolina. My father is a retired general, and my mom is a retired school teacher. My parents are pretty tough. And I made the biggest mistake of my life at the age of 17. I decided that I would drop out of high school. And my parents said, my mom happened to be a teacher at my high school, by the way, which you can imagine how horrifying that was when the kid at your school that you teach at decides that she's going to drop out because she knows better than you. And I did not at the time. It was one of the worst mistakes of my life. My parents said to me, if you're going to stop going to school, then you have to start going to work. And so I decided that I would take a job at a fine dining establishment called the Waffle House. Denny's was a little too highbrow. I don't know if we have either of those options up here, but if you do get to a Waffle House, please get your hash browns smothered, covered, and chunked. Who's been to a Waffle House? Okay. Okay, this is a real test. Who's been to the Waffle House after midnight? Okay, there's a hand. I have. I recently, if you want to know what the state of Washington is, I recently drove 12 hours through the night in my pajamas to go vote on the big, beautiful bill. And the internet, especially Twitter, lost its mind because I went to Waffle House at 4 a.m. I was in my pajamas. And rather than talk about things that are substantive, like what was in the bill, was what was she wearing in the van in Waffle House at 4 o'clock in the morning as I had to drive through the night. The press, I think it was last week, covered a meme that I posted. Not the leftist press, covered a meme that I posted. Nothing about the 26 amendments I passed in the National Defense Authorization Act and the House Armed Services Committee. Nothing about the $24 million I just got in a grant from one of my largest counties in the state of South Carolina. Nothing about the policies that we're doing, that I've been doing, both on House Armed Services or oversight, or the fact that we were debating singularity and AI 2 days ago on a House Oversight subcommittee that I chair, doing a roundtable about cybersecurity and technology and how that is the future of warfare and the future of cybersecurity, and that cybersecurity is national security. None of that. And that's what I am up against, that I see as a conservative woman in a country that isn't quite figured out who we are yet. But I do believe that the future is for our conservative values. And I come from, this is a very independent state, live free or die. I come from a very independent district. When I flipped my seat from Democrat to Republican in 2020, I only won it by 1.5 points. I flipped it from a Democrat to a Republican. That's about 5,000 votes in a congressional race. And I did that because not only am I conservative, but I'm also have this independent spirit, independent thinking, much like New Hampshire, because in South Carolina, along the coast, we march to the beat of our own drum. And we're fighting not just the policies that are out there at the state and federal level, but we're fighting the establishment. We're fighting the machine. In my home state of South Carolina, I recently learned that our state-funded colleges and universities are shoving down this gender-bending ideology. In a red state, bright red state, Clemson University had a form on their website, until I called the president of the college, had a form on their website with 15 genders. And wouldn't you know, male and female were not two of them. Okay? Another college or university, Coastal Carolina and South Carolina recently they were pushing cross-dressing on their college website. Like, I'm getting ready to send my oldest to college. And it's a lot more expensive today than it was a decade ago or when you and I went to college. And I'm not paying for pronouns. I am not doing it. I am paying for a good education for my kid so he can get a good job if he gets good grades, got to get good grades, when he graduates from college. But we've been funding this. And it's not just been Democrats, Republicans have funded. This has happened under our noses in every state across the country. And so I'm here to hold the line for South Carolina. I'm here to hold the line for New Hampshire. I'm here to hold the line for every state in the country to bring back common sense. And if you want to know that I will not back down, you can just ask George Stephanopoulos. I mean, I went on ABC News last year as a rape survivor to defend my political views and my support for Donald Trump. And it ended up that ABC News and George Stephanopoulos learned a $15 million experience on how not to defame somebody. The president won a $15 million defamation suit because of the interview that I conducted. And we have to teach the media the truth, and that means we have to sue people who lie. I'm in the process of doing that too. But what I learned from that experience too is don't tell the president this, I've not made this ask. Of the $15 million win he got in court, I don't want a commission. Okay? It sure would be nice. I'm not asking for a commission. I just want, because the money's going to be used for the presidential library one day, I just want to see my name above the women's bathroom in the presidential library. That's all I want. Because I've been largely called to fight for women and girls. I've been called to fight for lower taxes. I've been called to fight for responsible spending. I've been called to fight back against illegal immigration. In my bright red state of South Carolina just last year, we're not a sanctuary state. We don't have sanctuary, we've banned sanctuary policies, we've banned sanctuary cities. But our statewide Republican leaders also allowed a sanctuary sheriff go rogue, who refused to work with ICE. ICE somehow magically, 3 months before her reelection, got a pile of documents dropped at my office at my desk, where this sanctuary sheriff let out illegal aliens who were rapists, who were murderers, and who were pedophiles, right out onto the streets of South Carolina. We recently arrested 3 Tren de Agua members in Little Somerville, South Carolina, in my hometown of Goose Creek just a few years ago. There was a human trafficking bust, and over 20 people were arrested. And this was just in 2020. And so we have to bring back policies that help Americans flourish, that help Americans prosper, and also that we bring back law and order to keep our country safe. And with that, Jim, are you ready for some Q&A? I want to say thank you, and God bless the Granite State, God bless New Hampshire, God bless Donald Trump and the great United States of America. I look forward to your toughest questions today. Thank you. He said 10 minutes, so I did 10 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay, just put the mics on. Do you have your mic?
I'm green. Green. Okay, we good?
We're green. I have a few questions, and then maybe somebody will have a better question to ask, so put your thinking cap on and think of a good question. My first question would be, what brings you here?
We were invited, what I am told.
Okay.
And
Just curious. I mean,
no, we were definitely invited. I'm getting around the country. I was in Iowa a couple of weeks ago. We're in New Hampshire today. I will spend recess traveling throughout the state of South Carolina because I'm entertaining a run for governor of the state of South Carolina, but also getting a pulse of where people are, where our country is, and how we can do better. There are some policies in different states. I learned that Iowa Nice is a real thing. And it's interesting to hear from different people from different parts of the country. I'm still going to serve out my term as a member of Congress, and I want to know what policies are resonating, what is working and what is not working, and what we can do better. I've never been one to fall in line or to really, take lessons or direction from anybody in leadership. I'm going to do the right thing no matter what, and that's why you sometimes see me in tough fights, taking tough votes. In fact, I just recently voted to subpoena the Epstein files and the Oversight Committee. I did that the other day, but I did that knowing as a survivor and as a victim, I wanted to make sure we redacted the names of victims, that we redacted any child sexual abuse material. Nobody wants to see that. That we protect children who are potentially raped by pedophiles. So I'm going to do the right thing no matter what.
Congress only has a few weeks left before the end of the fiscal year, September 30th. You have many, many appropriation bills that need to be passed. There are some members that think that we may have a shutdown on October 1st. Your thoughts on whether your party, being in the majority, will be able to get all of the appropriation bills done by September 30th?
We're working hard to do that. So far, we've done MILCON and military appropriations. We voted on Coast Guard appropriations yesterday. We have a few more to go. What happens on the Hill is that they give you this deadline of September 30th for the fiscal year every year. Little gets done and then you're in some kind of an emergency to avoid a government shutdown. I have not ever, until one time this year, ever voted for a continuing resolution or ever voted against responsible spending, because we have these emergencies. It then causes us to increase the debt ceiling or increase spending. We pay for things like tranny mice. Can I say tranny in here? We had $26 million program in NIH, and I had the director of NIH in my office this week, but we recently spent $26 million making mice trans to study a date rape drug used by folks in the rave scene, I guess. But we castrated mice, put them on a date rape drug, and studied it for 26 million. So we just end up doing things that are crazy, they don't make any sense at all, and then we're rushed and we don't get back to common sense policy. So for example, this year we're increasing spending in defense, as we should, but we've got contracts out there that are wasteful. We have so much in terms of cyber or drone technology we have to invest in. We've got to stop wasting money, hundreds of billions of dollars of some of these contracts where nobody's working, and really put it back into R&D to make sure that we have that we continue to be the greatest fighting force with China on our heels.
You know, the President, Trump, has asked different members of the House and the Senate whether he should fire Federal Chairman Powell. If he called you, what would you say?
That's his decision. I'm not going to speak for the president. He knows more about the markets, and I know that he's frustrated. I'm equally frustrated with Jerome Powell, and if that's what we need to do, that's what we need to do. I wish we had more control over the Federal Reserve. We don't. As many of you know, we are printing money over $4 trillion a year. And when you look at the way that Jerome Powell has operated, I do have concerns about his priorities, and that the fact that he probably doesn't respect or like Donald Trump being president.
But if he were to fire him, would you be concerned
I would be supportive of it.
You'd be supportive of it. You would not be concerned of what the impact would be on the economy?
Well, I think that President Trump, in my mind, will not make any rash decisions. I think that he would has a bench of, I would imagine he's a business guy, very successful businessman, have a bench of individuals. Scott Bessent comes to mind. He's done a remarkable job in his position, but he has great minds beside him, particularly on financial markets, that would be able to, I believe, there's more than one Jerome Powell. There's more than one person who can fulfill that position and the mission for Donald Trump.
The White House decided recently that they wanted to cut $9 billion of appropriations that you and your colleagues voted on. And it passed, and he's now made that decision. I think $1.5 billion might be public broadcasting. The rest could be foreign aid. There are some members on both sides of the aisle chattering, saying, we're here to legislate. We're here to appropriate. We do that, and we take a vote. And then when all of a sudden, someone says, no, that's not what we want to do. So some of them are very upset now, saying, why am I here if I'm appropriating? And someone in the executive saying, no, we decide where the money goes. You mentioned your grant for your district. That's unusual because it seems to be taken away from the legislative branch.
Well,
no concern?
No, well, I mean, we did legislate. We did this via the $9 billion cuts were done vis-a-vis a rescissions package. We can do more than one rescissions package. Democrats under the Biden administration set the precedent that you can do more than one, which is what we appear to be doing right now. But also, every president in modern history puts forth their presidential budget. It is a recommendation from the administration, from the White House, on what they want the budget to be. And these rescissions are what people voted on back in November. They voted on this. There was a mandate for President Trump's agenda, and that's part of it. We voted on it. We legislated it. It went through the appropriate process. And I hope that we continue to do that because we've got some tough decisions ahead if we're going to work together or not to fix the debt increases we're going to have. We have to figure that out. Fortunately, in Q2 of this year, the economy grew 2.9%. And so with the decisions that we've made to cut some of the spending, looks like the tariffs are working better than economists even predicted. If we can continue the economic growth that has started under the Trump administration, then we will be so far better off over the next couple of years or even decade, given what's going on with the economy.
Do you see more rescissions coming in the next couple of months?
I hope like hell we're going to have more. I mean, for real, there's so many. I just came across an $800 million contract a couple weeks ago. And I sent it up to the powers that be over at DOD. And about half the contract, they're like 400 contractors working on this IT contract. They are managing, 400 private contractors are managing 100 government IT people. Why do you need 400 people to manage 100 people? And I come from the tech sector. I taught myself to program when I was in college. Secret not many people know. I knew 6 programming languages by the time I was 21. I worked for Anderson Consulting. And 200 of the 400 private IT contractors are sitting on the bench. They're not actually even producing any work product. So I advised and recommended, let's cancel the contract, let's start over. I can think of $400 million to go towards producing drones to take out other winged aircraft and potential future warfare to support Israel, et cetera. There are lots of things we can do. AI has gotten so huge. I'd rather spend $800 million making sure we're using AI in a defensive networking mechanism because China is hacking our assets, our technology, government and private, every single day. So we got to work smarter, not harder. I'm for all the rescissions we can do. We cannot do enough, in my opinion. We can't cut enough, in my opinion, right now.
When the big, beautiful bill was passed and signed into law, the Congressional Budget Bureau said that it would impact the $3.4 trillion on the deficit in the next 10 years. There were some members who said, we got to do away with the Congressional Budget Office. Your thoughts?
Well, both sides say this every time they're in power or not in power. There's always criticism of the CBO. Sometimes the CBO does a good job recording what the outlays might be and how it's paid for. Sometimes they ignore Congress. If we say, hey, this is how we're going to pay for it, sometimes I've seen the CBO just completely ignore it. So sometimes it's fuzzy math, sometimes it's accurate. And that's why it's really important, in my opinion, to read multiple sources. Don't take it from the horse's mouth. Go read multiple papers and understand how it might work. It might end up being better or worse sometimes too. I've written bills and I said, this is zero. And then they're like, no, this is going to cost $1 billion. And it's like, nope, not doing that. But sometimes we do have disagreements, regardless of who's in party. It's just like the same thing. You know, you can hold one side of the political spectrum in contempt, but not the other, right? I'm the only member of Congress who's held both sides to the same standards no matter what we've been doing. And you may not believe it based on how I'm covered by certain media outlets in DC, but I'm actually the 22nd most bipartisan member of Congress, even how conservative I am.
The big issue in the last couple of weeks is redistricting. We usually do redistricting every decennial, every 10 years. And for whatever reason, we're pushing the date out and we're saying, let's do it now for political reasons. Both sides. The president feels in Texas and Ohio, if we can reconfigure those districts, we could pick up 3 or 5 votes. You know, the minority leader in the House, Jeffrey, he's now saying, well, we're going to look at California, we're going to look at another. Is this good? I mean, do people really start losing faith, saying this is just pure politics?
Well, everything's pure politics right now.
Yeah, but I mean,
literally everything is pure politics right now. So we had the Epstein vote the other day, 2 days ago in oversight. I put in my restrictions to protect kids and victims' names, and then I wanted the word credible. Just take this very broad. They didn't even have the name Jeffrey in it, just Epstein list, and I'm sure there's lots of Epsteins, but we all know what they were talking about. I said I just wanted to put credible information, verified information, not a hoax, not rumor, whatever. And it got struck down. The left wouldn't do it. The right wanted to. We ended up being at an impasse with a tie. But everything's politicized. Even the counting of the number of people in this country, because congressional redistricting is based on population. Like we can't even ask if you are a legal resident here when we're doing the population. We're doing the census every 10 years because we can't agree on it. And when you're drawing lines for congressional seats and you have a plethora of illegal immigrants, say California, for example, you're drawing lines around a population that aren't totally legal citizens of the United States of America. That has also been politicized. And you can, if you don't believe me, go look at the numbers. So if you look at states where there are congressional districts with heavy populations of illegal aliens, you can see that the turnout in their elections is statistically significantly diminished. Valadeo is one example that comes to mind. I think in my election last year, we had 300,000 to 400,000 people voting in the general election. In that particular district in California, it was just over 100,000 something, less than 200,000, like less than half of what in a normal average district would be. And so I think, in my opinion, everything is politicized right now.
I guess what I'm trying to say is that the atmosphere in Congress, I was just reading a quote from somebody, happens to be a Republican, saying it's really bad. It happens to be Senator Murkowski. She's never seen it this bad. In the past week in the Rules Committee, we've had people there, shouting matches, committee members walking out, and you have Democrats, saying we got to, fire the director of Office of Management and Budget. Are we ever going to work together, I guess? I mean, this is what we do in the New England County. Try to find allies, both sides of the aisle, on if it's a tariff issue. But here it doesn't seem. It's almost like these people, it's like the house is on fire.
The house is a Wild West, by the way. That's what I call, I even told Jasmine Crockett one time I wanted to take it outside because she said my fear of rape was a fantasy. So I have lost it a couple times. I lost it on Hunter Biden last year. He was subpoenaed to show up before oversight and instead defied the subpoena. And we did not refer criminal charges on him. He defied a subpoena and showed up with a Netflix camera crew. So because of the climate, yes, it's very frustrating. And I come from the state legislature. So I served 3 years as a state house member. I was very effective. I had a prison reform bill signed into law while I was a state house lawmaker. I've done a lot of civil rights work. And we worked with both sides. And in fact, when we were doing our fetal heartbeat bill in South Carolina, we were the first state in the nation that put in exceptions for women who've been raped and children who are victims of incest. We're the first state in the country to put those exceptions because I gave a heartfelt speech on the floor of the House in 2019, told my story for the first time ever in my life in 25 years at the time, and I got those exceptions put in there. But I didn't do it alone. I did it with people from both sides of the aisle. I get to D.C., and I get a front row seat to the disruption. The things that I have seen that will go on, it's just about power and it's about ego, and it's not always about putting the country and her people first. Again, I don't have friends, I have a dog. And her name is Liberty, and she loves freedom, the Constitution, and bacon. So that's how I've gotten through life the last 4 years in D.C. It's not been easy.
What about Tyler?
Tyler's great. My cat, he's at home right now. He misses mom. But he'll be getting some soft food tonight when I get home.
Yeah. The director of the Office of Management and Budget spoke at the Christian Science Monitor's breakfast, and one of his quotes was, "We need to be less bipartisan and around federal spending." Do you agree with that?
I do right now. The Republicans are the only ones cutting spending. We're the ones that are cutting taxes. We're cutting spending. We're the only party doing that. And I have to tell you, for the Democrats that are in the room, the faster you guys get back to normal, then you're going to give us a run for our money. But right now, the Republican Party is the party of normal. We are the party of common sense. And that is why it was such a bloodbath last year. That is why there was a massive mandate for Donald J. Trump. And that trend will continue no matter how bad the left tries to put a wedge on us. The left, I just had Tim Walz in committee, and he couldn't define what a woman was. And if you can't define what a woman is, you cannot represent women at any level. And you certainly can't be the president of the United States if you don't know how to define a woman and protect women and girls. And at the end of the day, that's where we are. We're the party of common sense, the party of normal. And it's unusual for me because I come from a bipartisan place, but to be in Congress, we're pushing ahead. We're pushing forward. And until Democrats read the room, it's going to be a complete bloodbath for them next year.
As you travel back to your district, what are you hearing on the big, beautiful bill?
Tax cuts. My residents in New Hampshire and South Carolina are going to save thousands of dollars a year. The tax cuts also help small businesses. So New Hampshire, like South Carolina, we're very similar, but our economies are built on the backs of small businesses. About 90% of South Carolina's economy is built with small businesses. So If you have an LLC, those tax cuts aren't going to help you, but also the border. So we beefed up border security. If you're not going to have a border, you're not going to have a country. If you're not going to follow the laws, you're not going to have a country. So the self-deportation, deporting millions of people, that is what people want. And like I said earlier, we've had illegals that have killed children in my state. We just had a bust in Berkeley County, in my hometown of Goose Creek again. I don't know what's going on in Goose Creek, but I'll get there soon and fix it. But we just had a raid at a bar of over almost 70 illegals, cartel members, gang members. We know what streets in South Carolina the Sinaloa cartel owns and hangs out at. Same with MS-13, same with Tren de Agua. It's everywhere. I had a recent, I'm going to get on my tangent on illegal immigration because it's in the bill and beefing up the border patrol, border security, et cetera. But I had a bill recently in January. It was one of 12 bills that were part of the rules package in January, the first thing we signed into law. And it was to deport illegal aliens who are rapists, murderers, and pedophiles. And 145 Democrats voted against it. And so that's what people want to see. They want to see Republicans take the lead, keep our country, make our country safe, and that's what we're doing. We did in the big, beautiful bill. We're the party of fiscal responsibility right now. We're the party of putting Americans first. We're the party of women and girls. And right now the left cannot beat that.
We have a few minutes before she goes to her next event. If someone has a quick question, just identify yourself. Hopefully you're a New Hampshire resident you'd like to know. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Senator Kevin Abart, District 12. You mentioned drones and basically using that money to have drones to use as a weapon. But in Nashville, New Hampshire, they have a Chinese drone factory that makes large drones that they purchased. And there's also another building that the Chinese had bought in Nashville, 4 times its value. And I'm concerned about that. And I know there's an executive order that says that that's not allowed. Is there a bill in Congress that says we can do something about this? Because we outlawed it in New Hampshire, but these purchases of these facilities have been done prior to the governor signing into law. And my constituents are very concerned about that. Will Congress make an outline and do something about it?
We haven't had a vote on it recently. I know there has been various legislation to address this issue. Some of those bills filed last session, some of it were in the new session filed this session, and we've co-sponsored a few of those. In my home state of South Carolina, we have a similar issue. 13% of all Chinese-owned land next to military bases is in South Carolina. I mean, so this is a huge national security issue for us, and we even have Chinese parts in devices and skiffs, or we're having classified conversations. And so we should all be very concerned about the supply chain, particularly with regards to chip manufacturing and devices that we're buying or what the government's buying. I mean, I had a hearing last year about an agency that bought these 360-degree cameras, Chinese. They didn't need a 360-degree camera. Nobody really needs that in the government. Save your money and buy American. So the president is encouraging buy American, make American, and we're seeing investment by NVIDIA, we're seeing investment from the UAE, other countries in the United States, and that will continue to happen as long as these trade discussions go forward. Japan is involved in trade discussions. I think South Korea is as well, Philippines, Vietnam, et cetera. With the tariff, the way that Trump is using the tariffs, we'll be able to negotiate better on those things. But it's also up to the state to do it too, to address it as well. And you guys have done that. But Congress, we haven't had a vote on it, to my knowledge, this year. And then once we vote on it in the House, as you all know, it's got to go over to the Senate. My bill to deport illegals who are rapists, murderers, and pedophiles hasn't seen the light of day in the Senate. This is easy. It's really easy. So that's what we're up against.
Other questions for the Congress? Yes, sir. You want to identify yourself? And somebody have a mic so you can, here it is. He's right here.
Jim, this is not the last question.
Okay.
Sure. That's Matt again. He's
Matt.
on the...
Matt, I paid for this mic, Matt. Okay.
And I'm like a guest speaker.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Congresswoman, thank you very much for coming here. Not because Jim said it, but South Carolina, Charleston is the best place in the U.S. I love
Spend
that
all your
place.
money there,
Right.
please visit.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you very much for bringing common sense policies back. There's only, I believe personally, there's only two genders. As a concerned parent, I really appreciate that. As you mentioned, left went too far left. Thanks for bringing it back. My concern more about what's your input or what's your comment on the endless wars? Like, what do you think about what's happening in Ukraine, foreign aid, or Syria? What should U.S. stand for?
I
Thank
am
you.
against most foreign aid except for Israel. Israel has been a very good partner in defense for us. They test out technology, missiles, et cetera. I supported Ukraine early on, but it has drug out. We don't have an audit of the money that's gone to Ukraine. Some of what we sent over doesn't work also, and we don't know where some of the money has gone. And so I think we have to be, in this day and age, given that not only the United States, but our allies also, particularly in Europe and NATO partners, they drew down their reserves to very low levels. So I think, China's watching, Putin is watching. I think that if we are going to engage militarily, it has to be surgical. I texted the president 48 hours before we bombed the Iran nuclear facilities, encouraging him to do that, him and probably 1,000 other people, so he didn't do it because of me. But I like what he did with Soleimani. I like what he did going in and surgically trying to take out and demolishing those three nuclear facilities in Iran. We have to work smarter, not harder. China is building things much faster than we are, particularly when it comes to large military assets and equipment. Russia is running out of tanks, et cetera, but the future of warfare isn't tanks. It isn't endless war. It's going to be in cyber. It's going to be in AI. It's going to be drone attacks. It's going to be swarms of drones. So having men on the front lines, those days are probably largely behind us. Because of the way that technology is advancing so much. And I want to make sure that we as a country aren't wasting our investments in R&D, in the future of warfare, with things that matter less. Like Taiwan right now has a fleet of jets. Every time that the Chinese go in the AZs over there, they scramble. And so they're spending their money and their resources wearing out their Air Force. And they're not the porcupine that can hold off from China for days on end until other countries come in and to assist. And so my position is we've got to be the fighting force of the future, no endless wars. I supported defunding USAID. I mean, we were funding NGOs that were telling migrants how to get from South America, through Central America, through Mexico, cross our border illegally, and how to register to vote. I mean, that's what we were literally paying for through some of these this foreign funding. So we've got to stop. And both sides have to say, wake up. What are we doing? Because what we've done in the past has endangered our future.
Well, with that, it's 2 o'clock, and as I said, our guest speaker has a couple other events to go to. We want to thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.
Politics and Age
Thank
today.
I loved it.
Do you have someone else here with you, or do you another day?
I'll put my purse in this bag when I leave.
Okay,
Thank you very much. That was wonderful.
good.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you.
It was great. Thank you.